my PowerPoint presentation. Okay, should be coming on now. Do you all see my presentation loading?
No.
Okay, it should be coming on here on the screen. Okay. Somehow it's, of course.
Do you want to stop sharing and then bring it up and then share again?
Yes, sir, I can do that. Let's stop sharing. Okay, let's close it out. And then I'll share it again.
You may want to open up the presentation. Once you have it open, then share again.
Share again, okay. Let's go share screen here. Let's go to share screen. Okay, perfect, got it this time. Okay, so, and we will begin now. Let me get into presentation mode. Okay, while it's loading, again, this is a presentation regarding the K-8 and presenting several artifacts that show why we are looking at a K-8 campus. And okay, there we go. Why is it not loading? Excuse me 1 second here. Okay,
there it is.
Yes. And wow. Okay, so again, this is a Main ISD new K-8 campus board presentation, and it is loading very slowly.
If you want to leave it in the regular format, not the presentation format, if that one is acting up,
yes,
leave it in this format and present from this format. Do you want to do that?
Yes, sir. I will. Thank you. Okay, can everyone see the agenda? Can you all see the agenda?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Spencer. Here we did our introductions earlier on. Now we'll in this presentation, you'll see several things. You'll see a district highlight of demographic data. We'll also provide an overview of our K-8 schools. Along with that, there'll be a pre-recorded chat from a K-8 principal. They'll be presenting the information from their school, their experiences there. We'll also provide an overview of the project monitoring tool, which is a dashboard led by Mr. Vidal. And then, of course, we talk about the K-8 survey at the end. That's our agenda for today. So let's begin. Why are we here? Well, we're here for several reasons. We're here to talk about the recommended change to build a K-8 campus in Mena ISD. Again, like Dr. Spencer said, this is a recommendation. The school board has not made any decisions on it, so this is a recommendation. The cost of the school will be $43 million, and this will be coming because we have already in the bond set aside $43 million for a middle school. And with our recommendation is that we use this, instead of building a middle school, we build a K-8 campus. In addition to that, we'll be saving $16.9 million by not adding on to several schools. We're not adding on to Mena Middle School, Presidential Meadows, and Shadow Glen Elementary. And that cost savings for not adding on will be $16.9 million. In addition to that, there's also $21 million in a bond that's slated for an elementary school in the Wild Horse neighborhood area. Again, this is a recommendation. Nothing has been fully decided. And of course, the elementary will be built on land donated by a developer. The bottom line is this: there will be no changes to the overall cost of the bond. So everything that we're talking about here is already in the bond. So there are no changes. There's nothing that will be added in. Let's talk about a K-8 campus for just a minute. What is it? We've been talking about it, but what is a K-8 campus that we're proposing here in Mena ISD? Well, number one, it'll be a campus that will be serving 800 students in kindergarten through 8th grade. The elementary students for the school and the middle school students will be in different hallways as they go about their day. Now, is there going to be any interaction between elementary and secondary students? Yes, there will be some interaction, but this will be kept at a minimum. There'll be times that they'll be crossing, going to different periods, but again, we will ensure that this is kept at a minimum. But one key factor that's here is that our older students will be encouraged to become mentors to the younger students. And this tends to build, again, that bond that, of one school and students tending to want to, or scholars being able to monitor and being able to help the younger students as they progress through the school. Lunches, notice here, lunches will be separate by grade level. So again, kindergarten will be eating together, first grade, and so on, all the way up. And athletics will be provided for our students in kinder and 8th grade. Please make note of that. All right. There are several advantages to a K-8 campus, and we're about to talk about those now. We looked at research from around the country. And what the research tells us is that as 6th grade students transition to middle school, there's a drop in their test scores in their academic performance as compared to K-8 students who remain on the same campus. Also, 6th through 8th grade students tend to score significantly higher on standardized tests while they're in a K-8 campus compared to middle schools. And there's research that talks about the students being familiar with the culture, with the students, with the routine. And because they rule out that it's not something that's new to them as they go into a middle school, the performance level tends to be higher. Notice here, it also says students who enter 6th grade in middle school are 18% more likely to drop out of high school by 10th grade. Again, they disconnect. They don't feel a part of. They don't feel like they belong. Students feel safer and much more socially comfortable and less distracted in a K-8 environment. They're used to the environment. They've been there for several years, and they know the routines. They know their teachers. They know their administrators. So again, our scholars tend to be much more comfortable. And notice there's a decrease in discipline problems and absenteeism in K-8 than we see in our traditional middle schools because of familiarity. Our teachers know the students, they know about them, they're able to provide wraparound services to help students as they grow and be successful. Notice that in K-8, schools maintain what we call smaller cohorts. There's smaller numbers of students compared to middle schools, where you start seeing numbers that get into the 200 and 300s. And of course, the researchers are provided for you in the presentation. Now let's talk about a comparison of the K-8 versus the middle school. There are some similarities, but there are some differences as well. For example, in the K-8 school, there's an 800 student capacity, same as the middle school. However, as we look at grade levels under one roof in one school, we notice that in K-8, there are 9 separate grade levels. So again, the cohorts tend to be smaller. In the middle school, there are 3 separate grade levels under one roof. There's a seamless transition because in a K-8, students move from 5th grade to 6th grade seamlessly. They know about the culture, the climate, the rules, the teachers, the administrators. Whereas in the middle school, students are required to change schools, and a lot of times they have to make new friends. They have to interact with new students and new staff. In a K-8 campus, there's a sense of community because of the amount of time students spend in the school. So they feel like they belong. They feel they're part of that school community. Whereas when a student enters 6th grade in a new school, there's a lack of a sense of community. They have to learn that over time, and it's not easily adapted at the beginning. The age ranges in a K-8 would be from 5 to 14, middle school 11 to 14. And as I mentioned before, the class sizes, the cohorts are much smaller in a middle school as compared to much smaller in a K-8 campus or school as compared to a middle school. They both have athletics. That's very, very common. Very importantly, students in a K-8 have the ability to mentor and to model for younger students. And that's very, very important because our students now feel like they're a big brother or big sister, and they feel they have a responsibility to look over their the younger students. Whereas in middle school, they have limited ability to learn about mentoring and interacting with others and connecting with others. Both schools, the grade levels are separated, very much so, but in a middle school, there's evidence of academic growth due to the lack of having to change and transition because they're all in this under one roof, compared to the middle school, where again, transitioning is an issue and it's reflected in a drop in academic performance. So again, those are some of the comparisons of the two. Now I'd like us to talk about the actual data, the projected growth that we see in the district. And these are some numbers that were provided to us by our demographer that shows our capacity at each school. And then we show year by year the expected growth. So let's talk about that for just a minute. The schools, the main schools that we are most concerned about, there are three key schools here: Presidential Meadows, Shadow Glen, and then the middle schools, especially Manor Middle School. So as we look at the numbers here in Presidential Meadows, we see that there's growth occurring. The numbers are going up, Presidential Meadows and Shadow Glen, starting at 600, getting up to 700. And actually, this number will actually grow past this. But one thing we notice is happening. We have a charter school that's coming on board here in Manor. And we anticipate that they will start with a kindergarten through second grade and fifth grade. So we may see some loss of students in the number of about 320. That does affect our numbers here, but again, the growth will continue all the way through. As we look at our schools or middle schools below, we notice the same thing. We notice that numbers are increasing. We are seeing growth happening. As a matter of fact, Manor Middle School, well over capacity. They're there now and they continue to grow. Same thing with New Tech. However, what happens in 22-23 when we expect to see the K-8 campus come on board, we will notice that all of a sudden there's a drop in numbers for the middle schools. In addition to that, we will see the addition of sixth grade going into the charter school. So because of both our K-8 campus and also some with our charter schools, we will notice that the numbers, the overcrowding does not take place for the middle school. And that's why we're proposing the K-8. Let's look at the impact at the elementary school. Now, remember I said next year, because of the charter school, we'll see a slight drop in numbers. But look at what happens when we build our K-8 school. All of a sudden, the overcrowding that is happening drops even more significantly. And we see numbers dropping to approximately the 450 to 500 along the way. Now, we have to keep a very keen eye on this because these numbers will pick up over time. That's, another 5, 7, 8 years down the road. But notice here that as the numbers maintain, we have many years, 5, 6 years left to be able to ensure that our schools are not overcrowded. Next, let's talk about the relief that is needed. At Shadow Glen, as we look at our projections, they're going up considerably. For Shadow Glen, for Presidential Meadows, and for Manor Middle School. So we're trying to, with the K-8, we'll be offsetting both the middle schools and the elementary schools as well. So again, that's the rationale, a part of the rationale for proposing our K-8 campus, so we can lower those numbers and allow our scholars to have a chance to be even more successful. Now let's talk a little bit or hear from an experience from a veteran who has actually been in a K-8 campus. And I believe to play this, I'm probably gonna have to go into presentation mode. So y'all excuse me for a minute here. Hopefully this works this time. Okay, come on. Yes. Okay, let's hear from Principal Bethwing, who is the principal of a K-8 campus in Dallas ISD.
I've looked at those buildings. My building was built in 1954. It was originally an elementary school, then it was a rec center, and then when Dallas ISD decided to reopen it as a school again in the early 90s. So we're a pretty old building, but the way that we have separation is shaped like an E. And so we have wings. We have a primary wing, early elementary, lower elementary, and then middle school are separate. They do share the cafeteria, the gym, and the auditorium. And really, we keep the separation by the schedules and the procedures. They go in different doors and things like that, but kind of like what Dr. Spencer said, that's not a huge focus all the time because there's a lot of really good things that come from them sometimes seeing each other. The big kids really are good at mentoring the little kids. And I do think that they're very aware of the younger kids watching them. It does really motivate them to rise to the occasion and model really the behavior, you know. So we do keep them separate with schedules and things like that. Things to consider in a master schedule are like we share a music teacher, a PE teacher, and an art teacher that has to teach pre-K through 8. So that's, you know, those spaces are spaces that all the kids use then. So it's just in building schedule. That idea, I mean, those of you that are parents, and like the idea that you know that you're going to put your student somewhere, your child somewhere, and that they're going to get to stay there for 8 or 9 years, it's very reassuring to a family, I think. And I think that born out of that is such a community spirit of, you know, a really close-knit family environment, which I think that's what we need to raise our kids.
Thank you.
I looked at those buildings. My building was built in 1954. It was originally an
Let's go ahead
elementary.
and stop that and let's go ahead and move ahead. So our proposal, what are we looking at? We're proposing a K-8 campus where we'll be looking at a build out where we'll start with kindergarten and a sixth grade wings being built first to provide immediate relief to our surrounding campuses. We'll also be building ahead of the cohort. So once we build these, then we'll be looking at adding the different wings on. So as we grow gradually, we'll be pulling students in from their existing schools. Also, we will also provide our common areas being built first to provide the cafeteria, library, administrative spaces for the first set of cohorts of our scholars. And remember, we have $43 million already dedicated from the 2020 bond for construction of a middle school that will be able to transition to building this K-8 campus. Now we'll talk, there's a survey that will be provided. And before we get to that, we'd like to stop at this time and see if there are any questions coming in from anyone at this point in time. Do we have any questions? Mr. Vidal?
No, we can't see we don't know if the audience is raising their hand or something. Go back to the previous slide, please. We don't know if the audience is raising their hand or something, and we don't see anything in the chat, but if you see something, please let us know.
Correct. And there are currently no questions in the chat or in the question and answer feature. So let me check our YouTube stream. I did go live to YouTube as well, so let me make certain. So for our audience joining us live on YouTube, as we did share this, if there are any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll make certain to read them as well.
Okay.
So Mr. Vidal, would you like to take over with talking about the survey then from here?
No, Dr. Yearwood, if we can give an opportunity for the questions and then we can give an update on the information regarding how to get to the survey. I think we have a question in the chat, I believe. Will the school be ready for the fall semester? And I'm presuming this is the fall semester of 2022. And so the response to that question is no, the school would not be ready for opening in the fall of 2022. Dr. Yearwood, do we have a proposed or anticipated opening date or opening period that you are projecting?
Yes, sir. We're projecting at least by the fall of 2023. Yes, sir, we are. It's either going to be the late spring or the fall of 2023, but it will be open in that time frame.
So opening in August of 2023, or you say the spring of?
I'm sorry, the spring of 2023 or the fall of 2023. Yes, sir.
Okay, so there could be an opening at the latter part of the spring around March. Is that, give us a month?
Yes, I would say by March, April of 2023, we'd be looking at that, or in August of 2023, the latest. Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any other questions in the chat, Mr. Vidal? Or in?
I do not see.
Okay.
Not in the Zoom chat and not either on our YouTube chat as well.
Do you want to go through how they can get to the survey and take the survey to give us some feedback? And then if they have any questions that they'd like to have answered after this session, where can they go?
Yes, sir. So for our attendees. Yes, sir. So thank you, Dr. Yearwood. So for our attendees who are currently in this session of Zoom, all those who are in attendance should automatically receive a link to the survey after, because you had a registration link that you used to attend the Zoom meeting. So following this session, you should automatically receive a link to that survey. For everyone else that is joining us via the live stream and anywhere else, I have a short link that I will share here in the chat as well, and then along via email to any of those of our attendees who would like to take this email who did not receive the link as well to our short survey. So for everyone in the chat, and I do see that we have one more question here.
Oh yeah.
So there's the link in the chat, and I'm going to place the link as well in our YouTube live stream chat.
Okay, and then while you're doing that, I can respond to the question of how will you accommodate the students in the meantime to deal with the overcrowding? So in the situation where we have overcrowding, what we are looking at are the projections that we have received from our demographers. The projections that we have are putting us at being overcrowded for our campuses beginning the year of 2022, 2023, which is the year that we are projecting for the campus to open. The campus that may hit overcrowding prior to that point is Shadow Glen, which we're closely monitoring and making sure that the overcrowding situation that's at the campus will still be able to accommodate. So it's not to say that if we go over the capacity by 25 scholars, then we won't be able to accommodate, because we will be able to accommodate. But we just do not want the campus to become overcrowded by 100 plus scholars. And in that case, by the time the campus achieves that level of enrollment, the second campus will be open.
Thank you, Dr. Spencer. I'd also like to share with the group, we also have an archived location of where you can find the past meetings for further information. If you'd like to see past meetings as well as our presentations for our bond community meetings. So I'd like to take a minute just to share my screen here with everyone. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So for all of our attendees, navigate over to maynardisd.net and then simply go to Departments and Bonds and Construction. And then under our Bonds and Construction, you can see that we've created this wonderful tab here under 2019 Bond Planning. And under there, we've created this tab called our Bond Community Hub. So under here, we have this section for our K-8 Schools Community Forum Archive. So under here, we've created this YouTube playlist where you can find all of our past meetings. As Dr. Spencer mentioned at the beginning, we have all 5 of our meetings archived here as well. So if you simply click on it here, you can watch the video natively on our website, or if you click on the YouTube tab, it'll take you over to YouTube itself, where you can view the video in full screen, and you'll have the playlist over on the right-hand side. So here you can find, as you can see, the March 9th, the March 4th, the November Citizens Bond Committee meeting, the December 9th Citizens Bond Committee meeting. These are an archive of all of the past meetings that we have had with regard to the K-8 campus. So are there any other questions in the chat?
Yeah, I don't see any additional.
I don't see any.
And one other update that I'd like to share with the team. Let me share my screen here. Pardon me, that is the incorrect screen. And that's an update with regard to our Maynard ISD 2019 bond dashboard. So as we continue to be transparent with the monies that we use with regard to all construction and bond projects within the district, Dr. Spencer has charged our team and my team in communications and Dr. Yearwood's team over in operations with being as transparent as possible with our community and stakeholders with regard to all the monies and expenditures across the district for every bond and construction project in the district pertaining to the 2019 bond and 2016 bond and so on and so forth. So my team and I are building this current dashboard for all bond projects, which will be going live shortly. So as you can see here, we have an outline of what the dashboard itself will look like. And there's a disclaimer down at the bottom that says this dashboard and all materials herein are for informational purposes only. We're making a good faith effort to provide accurate and current information to all viewers about the information that is present on this dashboard with regard to all bond and construction projects. So as you can see here, simply you can hover over each section of this. In this case, this is the campus furniture refresh project that underwent earlier this year. So all of the campuses in Maynard ISD had a campus furniture refresh. Here we also have the Maynard New Tech High School, that is what those initials stand for, MNTHS concession stand. This is the proposed timeline. And below down here, we have the MNTHS concession actual timeline. As you can tell, we'll be very transparent with the timeline that is proposed to our community and what the actual timeline is with regard to any delays that we may experience, whether that be weather, construction, or what have you. But we'll keep you up to date on this timeline, as you can note with the dates down at the bottom to know whether we are on schedule. The only thing not denoted currently on this actual dashboard, as you can see, we have the color-coded timeline over here on the right-hand side. So this amber color here is our design phase. This orange color here for phase 3 is the award phase. Phase 5 is the complete phase. Phase 4 is the construction phase, and phase 2 is the bid phase. So this dashboard will reflect all of those completed phases for each one of these dashboard projects as we continually update the system. But as you can see, when you hover over each one of these, for example, this is the current budget allocated for the Maynard New Tech High School construction project as well. As you can see, there is a committed amount of $10.7 million with a remaining balance amount of $2.95 million. So directly from this website itself, you can also be taken back over to our bonds and construction planning page so that you can be kept up to date with regard on all of the updates and see the wonderful updates that we provide with regard to those and get a visual update for that. So Dr. Spencer, I'll turn it back over to you to close us out for the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I see we have another question here. The students that will currently be attending Maynard Middle School, will they automatically transfer to the K-8 campus, or will the parents have to register their scholars once the campus is complete? The youngsters that are over at Maynard Middle School are in 6th to 8th grade. They will all remain at Maynard Middle School. They will not be transferred to another campus because they're already in their middle school campus. If parents desire to transfer their scholar over to the new K-8 campus, then that's an option that parents will have available. But there will be no transfer, automatic or otherwise, to the K-8 campus unless it's initiated by the parent, because the parent wants their child to attend the K-8 campus. And then with
Thank you, sir.
that, if there are no other questions, I just want to say thank you again to Mr. Vidal for the technological aspect of making sure that we're able to communicate as smoothly as possible to and efficiently as possible to our community. And then to Dr. Yearwood for the presentation and sharing the insight and the information this evening. And then before I give my last thoughts, I see we have one last question here. This is not based on a lottery pool, and the answer is no. This campus will not be based on choice lottery system. It will not. And with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone for taking the opportunity to participate in this session. I hope that if you have friends or other family members who have not had the opportunity to participate, that you encourage them to view the videos and then also take the survey so that we can get some feedback from our community so that we can input your viewpoints, your thoughts and consideration into the information that we will provide to our trustees this upcoming Monday at our workshop to ensure that our trustees have the information that they need in order to make the most efficient decision for the betterment of our entire organization. And then again, I just want to say thank you, and to all, please have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.